I completed the rear hitch, getting it all welded and all painted up. I went through my videos, and this would kind of be just more for how to do the bumper relocate. Uh, I have it in one of the videos, but you kind of gotta watch the whole thing, so this will just be specific to that. But my truck has a 3-inch body lift on it. When you do the body lift, you got the big gap between the bed and the bumper. So to make it clean looking like this, like factory, so it doesn't look like it has a body lift on it, uh, this is what I did to it. On the inside of it, you have the bracket that's on the bumper. Usually that's going to be swept down, and then it has 2 bolts there, and then it has a couple of bolts where it bolts into the frame on it. On my truck, what I ended up doing was I loosened the front bolt, or the farthest one in the rear, and kept just one of the bolts in the back, took out the other ones, and just taking a floor jack and a 4x4 and jack up the bumper until it sits where you want it to go. And then you could either drill another hole or weld it. I chose to weld it along here on the other side of this. So it's welded there, and then again, you could drill another hole in the frame and run a bolt through there, but I don't foresee this bumper coming off anytime soon. So I chose to weld it along here, along the lip of the frame rail also. So it's welded in place. You could bolt it and do it that way. I just chose to weld it because it's not coming off. But even if I wanted to replace the bumper, all I would have to do is cut that one weld and then take the bolt out, and I could put another bumper on if I wanted to. My bumper looks good enough. Then the tab, which wouldn't apply if you're not doing this kind of hitch system with the extended frame rail on it. But if you do something like what I did with this 98 Tahoe hitch, that tab will have to get cut off so that you can run your bolt up. Even if you ran the bolt down, you're not going to be able to fish it through there with the tab on there. So I ended up cutting the tab off, which already has a bolt hole in it, which I used for this slotted hole in the frame rail. So those are all my bolts. That's how I ended up doing it. So that hooks it to the frame rail. Then when it comes to the outside of the bumper, when you're trying to keep the outside of the bumper from flopping around, this bracket is the actual driver's side bracket. It's just flipped over, so it would be facing the other way on the other side. It's just flipped over and brought over here to the passenger side. Passenger side is flipped and put onto the driver's side. It only lets you run one bolt in there, so this is passing through my frame extension and the factory hole in the frame for the bumper. It's just you can only run one bolt. Then out here I end up getting these bolts, which are the same style you would need for a bumper. Picked them up from Ace. A little bit of trimming on it. I ended up just trimming just a little bit off. So this is trimmed off of the top of it, since this is the driver's side. So I just cut it off to give me clearance there. And then I just have 2 washers behind it, just so it's not pulling the bumper towards the truck itself. So 2 washers behind there, then just some washers on the front of it. So it makes it so the bumper doesn't flop around. Everything's solid on it. But that's with everything all painted. It's all bolted together, welded. I think it looks pretty fancy. But it does look a lot better And you can change the angle, so when you have the floor jack underneath it, you can kind of pivot it, whether you want to pivot it down or pivot it up. But that's what it looks like. Same thing on the driver's side. It's just a little bit of trimming just so it doesn't get hung up on this bottom half and then where the bracket is behind it. So just cut a little bit more than a 1/4 inch off of it, and that gets it all done. If you decide to whether bolt it or weld it, you got to check and make sure that the tailgate isn't going to hit it. So make sure you have your tailgate open when you come to your final position you want the bumper to be, and make sure it's the right distance away from it. But have it down and then bolt, weld it however you want. That's how I did the bumper relocate on the back of my truck. And that's it.